Hi, my name is Santino,
Hi, my name is Sophia,
and we attend El Camino High School.
and today we're here to present a TED Talk to you guys about disabilities in jail. Imagine you're 16 years old, you aren't a suspect of anything, you haven't done absolutely anything wrong, and now you've just walked into a police station to go support your friend. But once you're inside, the doors lock. You're in a room filled with grown men and detectives who are shouting at you, telling you that if you just sign a piece of paper, you can go home freely. Now imagine you also have a hearing impairment and you can't quite hear the questions that are being fired at you. Imagine now you also have a learning disability that makes it hard for you to understand complex words. To you, they present a piece of paper that isn't presented as a confession, but it's presented as a way out of a scary room. That was Corey Wise in 1989. Right here, we have a picture of young Corey at age 16, April 23rd, 1989, when he was arrested. That was Corey Wise. He was failed by the system because they didn't see him as a child who needed help. They saw him as a victim they could easily exploit. They used his disability as a weapon against him, and that single night of confusion cost him 14 years of his life in prison. Santino and I are here today to talk about Corey Wise and that his case was not an accident. Far from it. He was a result of a system that is designed to fail anyone who doesn't fit the perfect mold. We are here today to talk about the millions of people currently behind bars who are facing the exact same trap that they did to Corey Wise in 1989.
Thank you, Sophia. Sophia just described a tragedy, but one thing we have to understand is that this was a legal failure. We have laws designed to prevent exactly what happened to Corey, and it's called the ADA, the Americans with Disability Act. The ADA is supposed to shield. It says that the government, including the police, must provide effective communication. What does that mean? That means if you can't hear, they have to give you an interpreter. If you have a learning disability, they have to explain things in a way that you can actually understand. But for Corey and so many others today, unfortunately, that shield is broken. The system treats these laws like they are optional. They ignored the bones of the law because they don't care about the skin, the human beings standing in front of them. The ADA doesn't just cover people in wheelchairs. It covers people with mental health, learning disabilities, and hearing loss. But when a police officer is under pressure to solve a crime, they don't stop to ask of a suspect who needs reasonable accommodation. Instead, they just keep pushing. And that is where the pivot happens. Prisons should be a loss of your liberty and your freedom to walk down that street, but it should never, ever be a loss of basic human rights.
Thank you, Santino. That was very powerful. So, what happens after the cell door locks? If you think that failure ends at the trial, you're very wrong. Prison is everything about commands, like when the guard says stand up, clear the yard, get in line. If you're a deaf inmate who can't hear what the guard shouts, the guards don't think, oh, maybe he didn't hear me. They think he's being defiant. They think you're a threat. This leads to inmates being attacked, pepper sprayed, or thrown in solitary confinement, which happened to Corey Wise, for violations that they didn't even know that were committing. Now, statistics show that about 40% of people in state prisons have disabilities. This is nearly half of the population, yet almost half of our prisons don't even offer special education classes. They're warehousing people with disabilities instead of helping them. When we have someone with a cognitive disability in solitary confinement, like Corey, we aren't punishing them, but we're torturing them. Their conditions get worse, their mental health spirals, and by the time that they leave, they are so much more broken than how they came into prison. We are taking people who need doctors and giving them guards. We are taking people who need teachers and we're giving them cages.
Thank you. Now, we have to look at the overall pipeline. How do we get to this point where so many disabled people end up in jail in the first place? It starts with how our cities are built. Due to a history of redlining, we have created something that is called resource deserts. You may ask, what is a resource desert? These are low-income neighborhoods where the clinics have been shut down and healthcare clinics pushed out the way, many miles away. If you are a kid with a learning disability and live in one of these neighborhoods, you're getting nowhere the support you need. Because there are no doctors or therapists, there's only one place you could really go. The police station. They become first responders for everything. If a person is having a mental crisis in a wealthy neighborhood, they get a ride to a hospital and are provided with the help they need. Compared to someone who lives in a red line neighborhood, they are treated at a police station. And this is why children with disabilities are 400%, let me say 400% more likely to be arrested in elementary schools. And we are criminalizing disability because it is cheaper to build a jail cell than it is to build a community for a health clinic. We are setting kids up for failure because before they even reach the 10th grade.
Thank you, Santino. That percentage is crazy, guys, and I can't imagine being in a low-income neighborhood knowing that I'm suffering and no matter what I do, I'm just going to be displaced. Okay. Now, I know what some of you guys might be thinking. There is a counter-argument to obviously everything that we're saying. Some people believe that prison is a punishment and that why should they have to spend their hard-earned tax dollars on special perks for people who broke the law? People also argue that retribution, the idea that if you commit a crime, you deserve to be uncomfortable. They say interpreters and mental health programs are luxuries and should not be given to prisoners. Okay. But let's be very clear. Rights are not perks. You do not lose the right to hear just because you're in a cell. You do not lose the right to understand your own legal case just because you're wearing an orange jumpsuit. When we deny an inmate of a hearing aid, we aren't just being tough on a crime. We are being cruel. We are creating a system where the punishment is twice as hard for someone just because of the condition that they were born with. This is not justice. That's discrimination. Providing an accommodation isn't about making a prisoner feel comfortable. It's about making the system fair. Now listen up. If the system isn't fair, it isn't a justice system at all. Let me repeat that one more time. If the system isn't fair, it isn't a justice system at all.
Yeah, I mean, like, you guys would ask, where do we go from here? We can't go back in time and change what happened to Corey Wise. But we can change what's happening in today's world. Realizing that history isn't just a textbook, but it's repeating itself right now, today, in courtrooms across the country. We can't change the past, but we have the power to change our future. We need accountability. It is enough to have laws on paper. Every police station, every prison needs to be audited to make sure that they are actually following the ADA. Think about it. If we didn't have a wheelchair ramps in this building, we'd say it's inaccessible. So why do we allow a legal system that doesn't have ramps for people with the cognitive disabilities, we need specialized advocates, people whose jobs is to stand next to disabled defendant and to say, wait, he doesn't understand what you're asking. You're twisting his or her own words. And we need to shift our funding. Instead of spending billions of dollars to warehouse people, we need to spend the money on first responders who are trained in mental health, not just handcuffs.
Wow, what a powerful statement. Especially the part where he said we need representatives to stand by people who are disabled, to say that, like just how Corey, just to say that he doesn't understand what you're asking and that you're twisting his words. Imagine how helpful that would have been for 16-year-old Corey when he was being interrogated in that room. So powerful. Corey Wise once said, "There is no Central Park 5. It's a 4+1. He was the one because he was the only one tried as an adult at 16. He was the one the system decided that he didn't deserve a childhood."
But Corey survived. He went 14 years in prison, and when he got out, he decided to dedicate his life to making sure it was never going to happen again. Not only did that happen, but he founded the Corey Wise Innocence Project to fight for those people whose systems refused to see. He helped those people with unheard voices, people that felt trapped, and people that couldn't feel like they could speak for themselves or others around them. Corey Wise, a man that happened to himself, he's helping others now, today.
So great. We owe it to Corey and the millions still behind bars to stop treating disabilities as discipline problems. We have to start seeing the person behind the disability and the human rights behind bars.
Thank you.